Hey everyone, welcome back to Canadian Insights. So picture this, you've been waiting over a decade for something to happen. You've filled out the forms, passed the tests, gotten the approvals, and just when you think you're finally getting somewhere, someone tells you congratulations, we're sending your file to another office for more review. Cool, right? That's basically the Sisson Mine story, and Pierre Poilievre just showed up in New Brunswick to tell everyone what they're probably already thinking. Don't hold your breath. The federal government just labeled this thing a major project and shipped it off to their shiny new major projects office, which sounds impressive until you realize it's just another stop on Canada's never-ending bureaucratic tour. Grab your popcorn because this is peak Canadian political theatre, and nobody's happy except maybe the people who sell filing cabinets to Ottawa. Let's talk about what we're actually dealing with here. The Sisson Mine is a proposed tungsten and molybdenum operation north of Fredericton. Now I know what you're thinking, tungsten and molybdenum sound like rejected transformer names, but these materials are actually crucial for modern technology and manufacturing. We're talking aerospace components, electronics, high-strength steel, all the stuff that makes the world go round. So this isn't some random gravel pit, this is a legitimate economic opportunity for New Brunswick. Jobs, investment, economic growth, all the things politicians love to promise during election season. But here's the plot twist. This project has been stuck in regulatory purgatory for more than 10 years. It's been approved, assessed, reassessed, discussed at length, and basically everything except actually built. At this point, the Sisson Mine is less of a mining project and more of a case study in how to make absolutely nothing happen while looking very busy. Now the federal government recently announced they're sending the Sisson Mine to their major projects office, and they framed this like it was some kind of breakthrough. Progress. Movement. Things are happening. Except Pierre Poilievre rolled into town this week and basically said no, that's not progress, that's just more paperwork with a fancier address. Poilievre was in Fredericton doing a tour of Atlantic Modern Homes, probably discussing housing affordability and construction timelines, which is ironic considering we're about to talk about a project that can't seem to construct anything. CBC News grabbed him for an interview and asked about the Sisson Mine situation, and Poilievre did not sugarcoat his response. His advice to New Brunswickers? Don't expect much. Not exactly the inspirational message people were hoping for, but probably the honest one. Poilievre's criticism was pretty surgical. He pointed out that the Liberals are essentially celebrating the fact that they took an idea, wrote it down, and mailed it to a different government office. That's it. That's the big announcement. It's like telling someone you've made huge progress on your novel because you finally organized your Google Docs folder. Technically true, but also completely missing the point. According to Poilievre, the federal government needs to stop creating new hoops for projects to jump through and just do one simple thing. Get out of the way, issue the permit, and let the mine actually happen. It's a pretty straightforward message, and honestly, it's hard to argue with the logic when a project has been spinning its wheels for over a decade. But wait, there's more, because Poilievre brought the receipts, and they're spicy. He reminded everyone that back in 2017, Dominic LeBlanc, who's both a federal cabinet minister and a New Brunswick MP, made a pretty bold prediction. LeBlanc said after the mine received federal environmental approval that he was confident construction would begin the following spring. That was June 2017, which for those keeping track at home, was over 7 years ago. Spring 2018 came and went with exactly zero construction. In fact, multiple springs have come and gone since then, and the only thing getting built is a growing pile of bureaucratic paperwork. Poilievre called this what it is: broken promises layered on top of more broken promises. It's the political equivalent of your friend who keeps saying they'll pay you back next week, except it's been 3 years and you've stopped asking because it's just awkward now. Now to be fair, Poilievre didn't completely slam the door on the project. He stopped short of saying the mine will definitely never happen, instead going with a cautious we'll see. Smart move politically because you never want to be the person who definitively predicts something won't happen right before it does. But his skepticism is pretty understandable given the track record we're looking at here. When a federal minister confidently promises construction will start and then nothing happens for 7 years, you've kind of earned the right to raise an eyebrow at the next round of optimistic announcements. So what does the other side have to say about all this? Well, a spokesperson for Dominic LeBlanc fired back with a statement defending the major projects office. They said the office will actually help speed projects like Sisson Mine to fruition, and they pointed out that unions and private sector executives recognize its transformational potential. Big words. Transformational potential. That's the kind of language that sounds impressive in a press release but doesn't actually tell you much about what's going to happen or when. The statement also took a shot at Poilievre and the Conservatives, saying it's unfortunate they're too focused on their own internal turmoil to put forward a positive vision for the country. Ouch. That's the political equivalent of responding to criticism by saying at least we're trying, which is rarely the devastating comeback people think it is. Here's the thing though, and this is where it gets interesting. Both sides kind of have a point, which is annoying because it would be way easier if one side was just completely wrong. The government can legitimately argue that major resource projects need proper oversight, environmental assessments, consultation with affected communities, all that important stuff that prevents disasters down the road. Nobody wants a mine that pollutes rivers or destroys ecosystems just because we rushed it through without thinking. On the other hand, Poilievre's frustration is also valid because at some point, process becomes paralysis. When a project sits in regulatory limbo for over a decade despite having approvals, you have to wonder if the system is actually working or if it's just creating the illusion of progress while nothing actually moves forward. The Major Projects Office is supposed to be the solution to this problem. It's meant to streamline approvals, coordinate between different government departments, and generally make things happen faster. In theory, it's a good idea. In practice, well, we're about to find out, aren't we? The cynical view, which Poilievre clearly shares, is that this is just another layer of bureaucracy disguised as efficiency. Instead of cutting red tape, we're adding a new office to manage the red tape, which doesn't actually solve the underlying problem. It's like hiring a manager to manage your managers because your team isn't productive enough. What makes this whole situation particularly frustrating is the economic opportunity that's just sitting there, waiting. New Brunswick isn't exactly drowning in major industrial projects right now. The province could use the jobs, the investment, the economic activity that a mine like this would bring. And it's not like this is some pie-in-the-sky proposal that just showed up yesterday. This has been evaluated, studied, approved through environmental assessments, all the due diligence has been done. At a certain point, you have to actually make a decision and move forward, or you risk creating a system where nothing ever gets built because there's always one more review, one more assessment, one more office that needs to weigh in. The broader question here is really about how Canada handles major resource projects in general. We're a country with massive natural resources and minerals that the world needs, but we've also developed a reputation for taking forever to get projects approved and built. There's a balance to strike between responsible development and actually developing things, and right now, it feels like we've tilted pretty far toward the side of endless process. Other countries are building mines, pipelines, and major infrastructure while we're still having meetings about whether to have meetings about projects that were proposed when smartphones were still a novelty. So where does this leave the Sisson Mine? Honestly, in pretty much the same place it's been for the past decade, stuck. The Major Projects Office might genuinely help move things forward, or it might just be another bureaucratic way station on a journey that never ends. Poilievre's skepticism reflects what a lot of people are probably thinking, which is that they'll believe it when they see it. LeBlanc and the federal government insist this time is different and progress is coming. We're basically in a holding pattern where everyone's making predictions and promises, but nobody's actually breaking ground. Alright folks, that's the situation with the Sisson Mine and why Pierre Poilievre is telling New Brunswickers not to get too excited just yet. What do you think? Is the Major Projects Office actually going to speed things up, or is this just more bureaucracy with better branding? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I want to hear what you think about Canada's approach to major resource projects. If you found this video helpful, smash that like button and subscribe to Canadian Insights because we're covering Canadian politics multiple times a day and you don't want to miss what happens next. Trust me, there's always something happening in Ottawa, even if it's just more meetings about meetings. I'll catch you in the next one.